All right. We are live on the Las Vegas Triathlon Club Facebook page, and we are recording. I'm John Mercer, president of Las Vegas Tri Club, and I'm here with Bob Gamble, ambassador of the Tri Club. How's it going, Bob?
I'm fine. And yourself?
Oh, doing good. And it's another Thursday night, which means another member spotlight. And tonight we've got another ambassador for the Tri Club, Erica Da Silva. Hey, Erica, how's it going?
Hi, this is like being on a talk show.
Oh, yeah, it's like real official here and everything. I got my boom, my mic on the boom and all that. Well, I'll do a quick introduction to this, and I'm going to turn it over to Bob, but I'll say, Erica, it's been great to have you on the club as an ambassador because you're my tech go-to person. So for those who don't know, Erica was responsible for creating the crowdsourced map of where the club members race. And that was fun to put that together. And I know we still have the vision of continuing to populate it. So maybe we need to regenerate that link and let other people go, add more races to it. But it's really neat to be able to see where people have raced. And it's a nice crowdsourced map. And I don't know how to do it, but you certainly did. So thank you.
No, you know what I loved about it the most was being able to see where other people have raced and get ideas for where do I want to go next.
Yes, yeah, and it is amazing. Our club travels. They really like to go places. So, but we're going to hear more about that and hear about your races. I'm going to turn the mic and video over to Bob for the official member spotlight introduction. Hey, Bob.
Well, hello everybody, and as John said, we have Erica Da Silva with us, and it's wonderful having Erica on because she was one of the very first people I ever rode with in the club, the first person I got to know, and we had a lot of good rides. And I was with Erica in remember the corporate challenge?
We did corporate challenge and hits in Palm Springs last year, last October.
So yes, and Erica has done everything from sprints to full Ironman, and your first triathlon was in 2015. You joined the club in 2016. You've been with the club for a while. What most impresses me about you is your consistency, and you are always doing something. You don't have ups and downs and like off periods. You have a solid level of high performance. And so I'd like to talk to you about that. So what was it just to get started? What was it that got you into triathlons? And did you have a strength before that like you were a runner or a swimmer or
I wouldn't call it a strength. It was kind of, I started running in 2012. I had a friend that I worked with that signed us up as a group, the people that I worked with, for Ragnar. I had no idea what it was. I don't think I'd ever I hadn't run more than 1 mile in, 15 years prior to that.
Oh, geez.
So signing up for this, 200-mile relay race was a little over my head, but
it was a stretch.
It was a stretch. But I had so much fun, and that just, started the ball rolling. So I went from doing that Ragnar to running half marathons, 10Ks, 5Ks here and there. But Ironman was always something out there that I wanted to do. And it was Mel Cronenberg. We also used to work together, and I used to watch just all the stuff that she would do, and she was always so amazing. So she kind of gave me that little nudge and that little push, like, you can do this. You can absolutely do this. So
now that explains a lot.
Bought myself a bike, and I did.
That explains a lot. I did not know you worked with Mel.
I did.
She is so responsible for getting so many people into triathlon and getting them started. So there's something there. We got to give Mel a plug on that one.
Yeah.
So when you did what was your very first triathlon then?
The very first one was supposed to be Pumpkin Man in October of 2015. Because it's around my birthday, and it was just going to kind of be this event and this big thing. But as it got closer, I panicked, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to finish it and how that was going to go. So I secretly signed up for Kokopelli in September of that year. I didn't tell anybody because I figured if I failed miserably, nobody would know. And Yeah, Kokopelli went fine. It was a blast. I loved it. So that was technically my first one. And then I did Pumpkin Man, 30 days later, 45 days later.
When
so
you finished,
Pumpkin Man was my first quote unquote public one.
but when you did Kokopelli and you crossed the finish line, is that when you said, okay, I'm going to do another one?
Oh yeah, I was hooked. I loved it.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's good for new people to realize. There's some folks who are going to be listening who haven't finished their first triathlon yet. So it's interesting to hear when you say, and a lot of people have the exact same experience. I remember when I crossed the line. You know, it's like you said, you cross the line, and it's like, okay, that's cool. When's the next one?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
I'm curious. Just a sense of accomplishment, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm curious. You know, Pumpkin Man is a very intimidating race. I mean, we're all.
It's a tough race too.
You know, yeah. Even though we've all done it for several times, but what was it that you were worried about, and how did you approach Kokopelli as a way to prep for Pumpkin Man? Because Kokopelli still has a pretty big hill in the bike.
That's
ride.
what I was going to say. It's a 3/4 mile long hill, and it's tough. It's a tough hill in Kokopelli.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'd gone out to Boulder Beach and did the Pumpkin Man course a couple times, and it was just, I was huffing and puffing, and I was breathing hard. It was hard, and I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or not. Because I hadn't done the swim, the bike, and the run together. That was the part I just wasn't sure about. And I think I'm prone to a little bit of self-doubt, and I thought, I don't want to fail in front of everybody. That, I've told everybody I was going to do this, and it was kind of a big deal getting into triathlon. So that's why I figured Kokopelli was close enough that if I could do that, then Pumpkin Man was achievable. So
neat. Yeah, well,
that's why I did it in secret.
Well, I love it. I think that's pretty cool. I love doing races where no one knows that you're racing. That's sort of a neat way to do it. But that's, it's great for people to hear that, one, you went and practiced the course ahead of time. And that's so important, especially Pumpkin Man.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think it's really neat, to hear the honesty that there's self-doubt, and truly, I think we all have self-doubt. How, can we do it? Is it possible? And and I can see Pumpkin Man, entering some doubts there.
And that's actually a self-preservation. It's a good fear to have, not a fear, but a caution. It's like if you just go into a cavalier without, I can do this, you can get into trouble.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that, a little bit of, and I don't want to call it fear or doubt or anything, but respect for what you're about to do.
It's a conservative approach, which is why I stepped from, some people can go straight into a 70.3 and not have a problem, but I had to take the baby steps of doing a sprint. Okay, I can do the sprint. Let me go to an Olympic. Once I could finish the Olympic, I figured, well, let me step up to the 70.3. And then once I finished that, then I thought, well, if I did that, I can do the full.
No, you're an engineer, aren't you?
Well, I follow logical steps.
That's right.
No, that is very logical, and that progression is so smart. And and other people are successful doing it other ways, but I really like that idea of progressing. So Kokopelli is a nice step into Pumpkin Man. But tell us about Kokopelli then. What were you even thinking as you started were you thinking Pumpkin Man at the start of Kokopelli, or what was
Oh no, I was just, once I started that morning, it was just try to finish, and being my first one, I didn't know how transitions worked. I didn't know about, wearing a tri-suit the whole race, and, not changing your t-shirt or something for the run. And yeah, there's a lot of those things that I just didn't have figured out. And I hadn't really done a lot of brick workouts. So that was,
well, speaking of learning things speaking of learning things on your first time like that, how was your swim? Did you go out too hard like 99% of all first-time triathletes, or did you go out,
no,
pace yourself?
I started in the very back of the group, and And I think I still do this with my swims today. It's just a slower start, get a little bit warmed up, get my breathing under control and get that rhythm down. And then I tend to speed up on the second half.
Mhm.
You're so logical. It's like, I wish I got to put you and me in a bag and shake us up and come out. Cause it's like, it's like, it took me like 5 races before I could, pace myself in the swim. I just didn't learn all that fast.
So
Yeah.
with the progression, you go from Kokopelli to Pumpkin Man. That was 2015?
2015, yeah.
2015, okay. So then you finished Pumpkin Man. I mean, how, after doing Kokopelli then, and then doing Pumpkin Man, what was that like?
Pumpkin Man was, I had a little bit more confidence going into it. So like I knew I was going to finish it. It was still a hard bike, but that was a very good celebration moment for me.
Oh, neat.
I felt like a real triathlete.
I was gonna say, you felt like, I'm a triathlete now. Especially after climbing, and then you ran 5K after that climb.
Yeah.
Well, I see, because Pumpkin Man would have been the goal, and that's where, and Kokopelli was really just a step to get to Pumpkin Man.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the way it was.
So
did you move on to an Olympic right after that?
Yep. The next season I went right into an Olympic. I think it was, what's the one they do in May at Sand Hollow?
Rage?
No, I've never done Rage. It was the one in Sand Hollow that's
I think it's just Sand Hollow or St. George, whichever way they call it now. Yeah,
Sand Hollow. So that was my first Olympic distance.
So when you were training for Pumpkin Man Sprint, were you already thinking Olympic, or what were you? Did you?
I mean, I think the long term in the back of my head, I always had the thought of wanting to do a full Ironman, but I had to put the small pieces together to know that I could get there. And I remember I did the Goldilocks ride. It's like a 60-mile. I did the 60-mile loop, and I don't remember which year it was, but I remember getting off of that bike ride thinking, I don't know how in the world people are going to run a half marathon after just doing that. And I mean, I know plenty of people did it, but I just couldn't see the path there.
Well, how did you transition and get to that? Because I was the same. I'm thinking, you ride 56 miles, and then 13 after that is, I mean, that's very daunting. So how did you get to that point where you could do that? What was the key?
Coaching.
Coaching, really?
Hired a coach, and Mel was one of my first coaches, and she got me to my first 70.3. So I had hired her after I did the Olympics. So I got to the Olympic by myself, and I just knew that, like, I was out of my depth. I didn't know how to get from where I was at to the next step that I wanted to be at. So she got me there.
Well, you were very smart, knowing that you knew that you didn't know how to get there. So, call on the expertise.
Yeah.
And
so she's definitely the expert.
Then how did you, move on to Ironman?
I finished.
Were you coached as well?
And coached. Mel still coached me all the way to Louisville, which was my first full Ironman in 2018. So I did 2016 was Olympics, 2017 was the half, and then 2018 was stepping up to the full.
No, what you're saying right there, most people don't have, don't do that. You paced it and spread it out, and you didn't rush, like, I'm going to do a sprint this year and I'm going to do an Ironman in July of next year. And, it's like, and that's how you get hurt. That's how you get injured.
Well, I mean, it works for some people, but, I think for me, it was more mentally. I needed to know that I needed to feel like I could accomplish it.
Okay. Now here's a question for you. In that progression, did you get injured at all in between when you first started and did your Ironman?
No, not from training at all.
And that right there is amazing that you did that so methodically and logically and smart. And that's the lesson that I want, I'd like a lot of other people to realize is that this is a lifestyle. It takes time. You don't just jump into that.
Oh,
And
I
if
think
you
I
do,
lost
you
connection.
increase your odds of getting hurt real bad. So that's wonderful that you've done that.
Well, let's hear about the 70.3. Which one was your first 70.3? Because you've done.
It was 70.3 in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah.
East
It was
Coast.
that was actually, it was a great course. So it's again the end of October, so the weather was really nice. I've got family that lives nearby, so it was easy to kind of logistically get there and kind of wrap in a whole visit at the same time.
That's great.
One of my really good friends went with me. It was both of our first 70.3s.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so it was a kind of a down current swim. The black bike was super flat, and the run was nice and shaded and mostly flat. So it was a good one for a first time.
That's great.
And how
time of year
was your
it?
run after the bike? How did that treat you?
On North Carolina. So
Yeah.
running is my worst. I've historically been terrible at it.
Me too.
So it was a little warm, and I did kind of struggle a little bit, but it was still within normal range. I think I finished that race in like 6 hours and 23 minutes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well under cutoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what I was afraid of. Like, I think I had a 7.5 hour target time.
Okay.
Sat down with Mel before I went out for that race and put together kind of a plan and a target. And yeah, I did so much better than I thought I would.
So how long that did you already have the full in mind at that point, or did that come later?
It's in the back of my head, but there's no way I was going to commit to it until I'd finished that 70.3 and kind of, how do I feel? Do I feel like I'm going to die, or do I feel like I could do it again?
So how soon after you finished your 70.3 did you sign up for Louisville?
I think it was a couple of months later I registered.
Oh, yeah. That's great. So you enjoyed the long distance of the 70.3, and you just wanted to go a little bit longer then.
Well, I thought that I wanted to cross that finish line and hear the announcement that you are an Ironman. I wanted that just once in my life, and I thought I'll do 140.6 and that'll be it, and I'll go right back down to the 70.3 because it's a manageable distance, and you don't have to spend 20 hours a week training for it. So I figured I'm going to put the time into it. I'll do it once, and once turned into more than once. So
yeah, that's right. Well, then tell us about Louisville. What was that like? You prepped for it well. And Louisville is that probably one of the original time trial start type of races where they've always had people lined up, and then they send you off 2 at a time or something like that off the dock. So how was that standing in line and waiting for your turn to go? What was going through your mind?
So the year that I did it, so Louisville used to be in August, I think, and they had moved it to October.
Yep.
And the year that I did it, they had a cold front come in. So it was 47 degrees and raining out in the morning. It had rained all that week, and the current was so strong that they didn't know what they were going to do with the swim until race morning. So we got there, staged everybody on this grass out in front of the swim start, and then they shortened the course to, it was about an Olympic distance is what it ended up being.
Okay.
So they just put people in the water, and you just had to hold on and kind of point yourself towards the finish line, and that was good. I think my swim time for that was like 17 minutes.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a point to point downstream.
And point to point downstream. Yeah. Because the current was just too strong. There was no way they were gonna keep people in that for too long.
Yeah, because in Louisville you swim upstream first, and then and for just like the first quarter of the course, and then it's downstream. So well, and every race has something unique to it, and you always got to adjust, and so that's great to hear that you just adjust, just do it, and then jump on the bike and get that done.
Yeah, and that was Louisville was a very cold and rainy bike. I learned very quickly that I don't know how to dress for the weather.
I was just going to ask you that. So what did you do different for the weather, or did you?
I did what I thought would be the best approach, so I had a few extra layers, but yeah, no, I was pretty cold.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, that could drain you too.
In hindsight, it was maybe a little bit motivation to go a little faster, but
Yeah.
it was cold. But I think that's the thing about racing, at least for somebody like me who's middle of the pack, it's that, at that distance, it's really more about solving problems than it is about, employing your performance.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is when you get into race day, and when you have a day that is that long, something's going to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just being able to solve that problem and move on and keep going.
Oh, that's great. What a great perspective. So then
It is.
when you hit T2, having already reached cold temperatures at that point, how did you handle T2 to get ready for the run?
Oh, I was so happy because I knew I was ahead of the cutoff times.
Yeah.
And, I kind of in my mind knew what I was going to do for the run. And I'd never run a full marathon before. But I knew that even if I did half of the time that I wanted, or thought I could accomplish, that I was going to make the cutoff.
Oh, that's a good place to be, huh?
Yeah, it was great. I was so happy.
And what was it still cold on the run at that point? I mean, the sun
was down. Oh yeah, it was way dark. Sun was down. It stopped raining. So yeah, it was chilly, but it's better to run in chilly weather than bike. So I was fine at that point, and I was on cloud 9. In Louisville, they have it's a 2-lap run.
Yep.
So as I came in for the second loop, I could see the finish line and I could hear the finish line, and that was motivation for me.
The 4th Street party.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so tell us about that finish line, because that finish line is iconic. So
yeah, no, it was an incredible party, and you feel like you watch like the Oscars, the people running down the red carpet, and it kind of felt like that. It felt really great. And my mom and my sister had come out, and I had a couple of friends from here that came out to support, and yeah, I felt like a superstar. It was pretty great.
You're inspiring right now a lot of people to do that. Right? They're gonna say, I want a piece of that.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. I'm not gonna lie.
That's good.
Well, and that's, you talk about problem solving. I mean, you've got to solve the problem of dealing with that cold weather, both on the bike and then still being able to do the run. And so that had to feel like a huge sense of accomplishment, crossing that finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole thing was, yeah, that was a big deal.
That's great. Well, Louisville's a fantastic race. Yeah, Bob?
Can I move on and ask a question about the 70.3s now that you're doing?
Sure.
Or do you have something else on that Ironman?
Yeah. So, with all the deferrals that happened this year and the races that got canceled, I ended up registered for the 70.3 Gulf Coast, which is next weekend. And it was on the fence about whether it was going to happen. Turns out it's happening. And then I was on the fence about whether or not I was going to go. And, I've had a couple of good weeks of, some good solid bike rides and some good runs. And I thought, I should go. I should just go and do it. I'm going to do it.
Awesome.
And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about that, I was looking at some of your Strava rides, and you're very consistent, and you do 17-mile to 30-mile rides a lot. And how do you translate that into a 56-mile, a good solid 56-mile bike leg when you're doing the shorter rides? Do you do the long ones how often do you do that? And can you just talk to me about your presentation or your preparation to get up there?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know that I've necessarily followed a solid plan to get to 70.3, but it's just this year's been really just enjoying being out on a bike or going out for a run. But generally it's like I'll do 2 to 3 bike rides during the week that are shorter in distance. A lot of elevation, training during the week. And then on the weekends, I'll do something longer, when I've got more time to get out there and do 50, 60 miles.
But you'll do some tempo work through the week and then slow it down on the weekends.
So I'll do a mix of stuff.
Very good. Very good.
Well, what I like about that plan is, one, it fits your schedule. And it sounds like you've got it worked out to where, you know what you need to do based upon what your week is like. And then two, it's consistency. Right?
Yeah. Consistency is the key for me. And even if it's not the workout I was supposed to do, doing something is better than nothing.
Yeah, that's a big lesson right there too for everybody, and especially me. I'm as consistent as a Chinese firecracker. It's like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I've got to get, I appreciate you that working for you. So it's something I know I need to do as well. Probably others as well.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, working at home makes it a little bit easier because, you can take a lunch break and go for a 45-minute run or an hour run, and, you don't have to be back in the office. So it doesn't matter if you show up on your conference call with, messy hair and sweaty clothes.
That's right. Well, that's great. And I want to just jump backwards then and hear about, after doing Louisville, then you decided to do another Ironman.
Because I'm susceptible to influence of friends.
Yeah. Oh, so did someone twisted your arm for this one? How did that happen?
I didn't, I don't know that I ever considered, so I signed up, I did Mont Tremblant last year, the full, and I have one of my really good friends, she lives in North Carolina. She raced triathlon for a while, took a break for a couple of years, and this was her first one back, and was kind of the nudge of, you want to do this with me? You want to do this with me? And, I think I love to travel, so, it all kind of came together and I signed up for it.
Yeah, that's
in a great venue. There's beautiful. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And what do you have?
But it was fun.
What do you have lined up for 21? Anything?
I'm going to do the full in Coeur d'Alene, and I've got Maple Valley in Washington, 70.3. So that's all I'm registered for right now. But that was all, from deferrals from this year. So,
and hopefully everything's going to go.
More travel.
Yeah, we're about a good group going up to Coeur d'Alene. Now you've done the half there as well.
I did the half up there, yeah.
And that was good.
And you're doing the full this time.
And I'm going to do Coeur d'Alene. Yeah. With friends, of course. It's pretty much the only way I want to race anymore.
Oh, that's great. All right.
Fun and the lifestyle.
What's that, Bob?
I said for the fun and the lifestyle, and it probably keeps you a whole lot healthier and happier than, racing for the single events and trying to kill it and improving your time.
Yeah.
All right. So I love hearing the travel, because I agree with you. I think that's part of the fun of this lifestyle, is being able to travel and see different places and all that. But you've done races from the sprint Olympic 70.3 to fulls.
Yes.
All right. Can you compare and contrast them? Which distance are you drawn to?
I like the 70.3. I'm much better at longer distance stuff than I am short.
Oh.
So the sprint, it was a good introductory step for me to be able to, feel like I could actually accomplish the whole triathlon thing. But I am more intimidated by doing a sprint than I am a full.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because I just cannot go that fast.
You got to go hard.
Yeah. And a sprint is going hard, and I can't, that's not my skill set.
Well, see, I love that, because I know a lot of people will say, when there's one of our local races and there's different distances, and You say, what did they do? Well, I just did the sprint. And I'm like, no, don't say just did the
That's
sprint.
not a just.
No, those are great, fun, and you got to be on the red line the whole time. A totally different experience than Olympic or a half or a full.
Yeah, no, I felt honestly like doing the full, it was almost permission to slow down a little bit because you have such a long day and you have to be able to make it through each leg. So it was a little easier to swallow for me.
Oh, that's great. Well, it is so neat to hear this. It's great to hear you give give an overview of what you've done. And now you're racing next weekend. And a bunch of us are jealous that you're doing that. So will be fun to track you on the golf. When do you go down?
I'm going to fly down on Thursday and then come back the following Monday, I think.
That's great. Now, I have not done golf course. Is that a ocean swim?
It's an ocean swim. So they put you out over here in Panama City Beach. So it's just one lap. It's not, you don't have to come back and back in the water. And the bike course is one loop, which is nice because most of it's just a single stretch. There's no turns. So it's just going to be, get an arrow and go the whole way. And then the run is right on the beach. So worst case, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, I think running along the ocean is great. You won't be on the beach though, hopefully, right?
No, it's not on the sand. It's on like a pathway. I think it's sidewalk, concrete.
Well, it's so neat to hear you go from a sprint where you were a little worried about Pumpkin Man to begin with, and then you go and do Cocopelli, and that was only 5 years ago. And now you're talking like you're a veteran, and you're hey, I'm just going to go do a race. This is awesome. This is really
well.
cool.
And and by the way, I'm just going to do an Ironman, a full Coeur d'Alene.
It's so that should be the mark for anybody. It's achievable. You can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
No, that's great. Well, it's the consistent training that gets you to the start line and gives you your best chance to finish. And that's what it sounds like what you're doing.
And a lot of support from friends and family, and having the right coach makes a big difference.
Is Mel still coaching you?
No, actually, this year I don't have a coach at all. With the year just kind of being crazy as it is, my feelings towards a coach is that, you kind of owe them your performance. And I honestly had no idea how much I was going to be able to consistently stick to a plan or not stick to a plan. And I didn't want to do that to somebody who's, their athletes are their brand, and just didn't seem right this year.
Very, very considerate of you.
Well, it's just, that's how they make their living, is performance. So that was that. I forgot the question.
No, that's great. Well,
as far as your coaching,
yeah,
that's good. And you learned. I mean, and you it was a learning experience as you were being coached, and you can apply that yourself now and be flexible.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of plans that you can go out there and download. The TriDot system is another one that I've actually signed up for that, and they've got different plans that range different price ranges. And you can get a plan and kind of choose to follow it or kind of use it as a guideline. It's a very flexible system. So I've had access to that this year too.
Interesting.
Well, Erica, this has been great to chat with you and to get to know more about the races that you've done. And we've actually crossed paths at some of these races. And so it's really neat to see that we've done some similar races. So that's always fun to hear different stories. So great to have you on. We should find that crowdsource link and add it to the link to this podcast, so people can add in some more information on where they've raced, because I think it is fun to see where people have gone, and like you said, to get ideas on where to go next.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and this year for travel hasn't been races, but I've been lucky enough to spend time with my friends and people close to me, traveling to, Flagstaff, and we've been to the Grand Canyon, and I'm in San Diego this week. It's been good. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, and best race next weekend, and we will be tracking and electronically cheering you on.
Yay.
Be safe and have fun. Yes.
I will. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Erica. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Right. Bye.